Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's edition of NASCAR 06 Total Team Control on the channel, and this evening we will be racing at the old Atlanta Motor Speedway for the running of tonight's Busch Series race on our custom schedule season. We're down to the final 8 races of the year. Kyle Busch is not that far away from clinching a championship. He's got a possibility of clinching it within the next 3 to 4 races. And that means he's going to be clinching the championship probably 3 to 4 races before the end of the season. That's how dominating it has been for Kyle Busch this year. By far is the most winningest driver, as he currently has 10 wins on the season. The next closest is 3. But not just that, the consistency level has been unearthly. It is a 3.9 average finish for Kyle Busch through the first 24 races on the season. He has finished in the top 10 in the last 5 consecutive races. He only has one finish outside the top 10 in the last 15 races, which is absolutely unbelievable. He's only finished outside the top 10 as a whole twice this season, and that was a 17th place finish at Charlotte and a 14th place finish at California. So even the super speedway races, which we've had 5 this year, we finished 10th or better in every single one. We have led laps in all but one race this year. That was the most recent race at Daytona just 2 races ago. It was the first race and the only race this season we have not led a lap. And just coming in off a win in the last race at Dover, leading 108 laps, came from a lap down in the second half of that race. In fact, in the final 50 laps, got back on the lead lap, got a caution with about 20 to go, put fresh tires on that race car and ripped through the top 12. Luckily, there wasn't that many cars that were on the lead lap at the time because of a long green flag run in the second half of the race. And the reason why we were down a lap is because I ended up accidentally clipping the apron. I spun out. I had to pit under green. I couldn't pit for fuel and tires under the caution. We were within the window to make it to the end. But needless to say, got a good yellow late in the race, which gave us a shot. And we were able to conquer the win. Despite the dominance this year, I've actually only led more than 100 laps in 6 of those 24 races we've had so far this year. So, very interesting, but one of those was the most recent race. Now, granted, the Busch Series is a lot shorter. So the races typically are about 200 laps or less, so we'd have to lead over half the race to lead 100 laps, but still, it has been a good season so far. Just over 1,500 laps led, 10 wins, 18 top 5s, 22 top 10s in 24 races, and again, at 3.9 average finish. There's a chance for a 1-2 finish in the point standings for Hendrick Motorsports. Our teammate, Brian Vickers, is actually 3rd in points coming into today's race. He is only single-digit points behind Clint Boyer, so we'll see if we can end up getting that done. But thanks for everybody tuning in tonight. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. We're going to have some fun racing at Atlanta. The Cup Series race at Atlanta on this game, on our custom schedule season, one of the best races of the season. It was fun watching the cars slip and slide. It's going to be a handful in the long run. I do think I have a little bit better race car as far as a grip level standpoint. In this, I think the lack of horsepower in the Busch cars compared to the Cup cars is probably the big difference, because I don't think that the actual setup itself is that much different. Patrick Shadley, Wade Solinsky, JC1424, Joshua Rumsey, and others, Billy Kramer also, welcome into the stream. Let's get the race underway. Aaron's 312 at Atlanta, 202 laps, 312 miles, a little bit of a weird distance in this one. Green flag is in the air. Top 3 in points will start 1 through 3. Shane Neal in 4th. Going to give Vickers a good shot. And Busch did not take off well on the start. He is not going to lead the first lap of this race. Terrible start for Kyle Busch. He just did not get going there. And Brian Vickers should be able to lead lap 1. This will lead the field into 3 and 4. 3 wide as they have Ryan Newman to the middle lane there. 3x3 off turn 4. Couple cars wide. Kenny Wallace nearly in the wall off the Exeter. Turn 4, we've got a caution on the opening lap. That did not take long. They were 3x3 back there, and I think that's why we saw a wreck off turn 4. Kenny Wallace got into the wall, causing a stack up, and then we had about 3 cars get just jammed in a row. A couple of them spinning down into the grass. Yeah, there was nowhere to go there. An opening lap caution at Atlanta. Was not expecting that. Looked like about 4 or 5 plus cars involved. Decent sized wreck. Heather Herman, thanks for tuning in also. I think I'm at about 900,000 views total, so. Yeah, I mean, we're getting close to 1 million. We should get there by the live commentary streams at the start of the year. I think we'll definitely get there within those first few races of the season. Well, the problem is Busch is not good on the restarts, and he's going to have to endure another one with that opening lap caution. Vickers leads the opening lap under the yellow. Newman to the outside. Busch not going to lose any spots this time, potentially. Newman gets above him, but Busch was able to side draft him enough. I think the single file restart probably helped Busch a little bit better, but the top four in front of him definitely pulled away. They're 3 wide again off the exit turn 4. Newman into the wall now. We're going to make it a lap that time, though. Busch already 1.3 seconds off the lead. We just restarted. Craig Franklin. Thanks for tuning in. Also, thanks for tuning in to, who's that? Republic of Airstrip. Thanks for tuning in. I have no clue who you are. Maybe you've changed your name, but appreciate you tuning in. Picked up NASCAR 06 again last night. 3-month break. Rookie season Busch car. Handles like dog. Ice Demon King 92 Hammer, thanks for tuning in also. Kenseth on the attack here on Kyle Busch. I don't know that Busch's car is as fast as I thought it was going to be. It's kind of scared me a little bit. We qualified on the pole with a 30-30. I was pretty fast in practice, too. Kenseth looking to get around the 5 of Busch, and he's going to pass him, more than likely. Off the exit of turn 2. Bottom lane left open now for Kenny Wallace to get underneath the 5. Oh, Kenseth off the wall right in front of Busch. That's going to stack Busch up. Side drafting Kenny. That's dangerous. We got a car. Oh, Vickers is blowing an engine from the lead. While Busch, meanwhile, scrapes the wall off turn 4. Lost another spot to John Hamilton. Problems for Brian Vickers as he has blown a motor in the opening laps while leading in this race. That did not take long, and you wonder if the engine's going to last on the 5 of Kyle Busch now. He's not running as fast off the start. Clipped the apron going into 3. This is not good. Busch is just digging too hard now. We're going to have to loosen this bad boy up, I think. Bump up the air pressure, something. We are not fast for whatever reason. I don't know how I qualified on the pole and am having this issue. Not a good start for HMS, despite qualifying on the front row with a lockout. Shane Meal leads. He hasn't won since the 4th race of the season. Riding about a 20-race winless streak, but he leads in the early going. That was Busch's fastest lap that last time of the first 10 completed at the line. Long ways to go, though. We still have a few pit stops. Nobody pitted during that opening lap caution. I was so scared that the car was going to be too loose on the long run like it was in the Cup race. That cost us a shot to win. Finished second, and we still had a good run, but I couldn't keep up with Edwards at the end of the race. So I was scared of that, but we're almost... It's almost like we have too much downforce in the car that is so slow in the straightaways. Got a long ways to go. And I was in traffic in practice. I felt like the car handled... I mean, that's the thing. The car's handling pretty well right now. That's why I want to loosen it up. Because I think there is room to try to loosen it up at least a little bit. We don't know how the car's going to handle in the long run quite yet. I didn't run more than 20 laps on a stint. And this is our first and only Busch race at Atlanta on this custom schedule season. Busch can't get to the inside of Kenseth yet. John Hamilton going to get by Kenny Wallace for position. Well, it looks like no field pass in the race today, with Vickers out already. Mark DeMars, welcome in. Craig Franklin at the casino. Are you going to play some bets on Kyle Busch to win this race tonight at Atlanta? The starting odds, probably weren't going to be as good as the odds right now, considering where the car is. It stinks that it's so bad on the short run that we can't defend track position. We get past, and then we kind of settle in line. But we're not fast enough to really make any passes right now. Unless we get some racing in front of us, maybe we'll have an opportunity. Edwards and Kenseth have reeled Kenny Wallace in. It looks like Edwards to the inside of the 22. Potentially, not quite. Now Wallace gets tight in line behind John Hamilton. Edwards down low. Busch gonna have to stay close behind the 17. Oh, contact on the front stretch. Edwards and Edwards and Wallace get together. That's going to allow Kenny to actually get to the bottom because Busch was able to get underneath the 17 who had to check up to keep from running into the back of the 22 at the start-finish line. I have not bought my ticket yet for COTA, so I have no clue. Where is the best place, like, for action? I like sitting as close to the start-finish line as I can, but there's some road courses I've been to where that's not a great idea. Like Road America. I kind of wish I would have sat somewhere else other than Turn 1. I sat in Turn 1 at Mid-Ohio, but where I was at this year for the IndyCar and the truck race, I wish I would have went there during the Xfinity race a couple years ago, too. Bowyer to the lead, Meal back to third. Busch on the inside of Edwards. Aaron Crocker's up to second. John Hamilton starting to close. Busch with a block on the 60. Follow Kenny Wallace after Wallace was able to get back around him. Kenseth to the inside of his teammate now for 7th place. Turn 1. I would imagine that's a pretty good vantage point considering the hill. I don't know exactly where I haven't been to COTA, so I don't know exactly where all of the seating is. Definitely going to walk around and kind of look at the place. Assuming I'll probably end up getting GA and then figure out where I'm going to sit. Depending on how they sell tickets, I don't know how they do it for NASCAR there. I would imagine it's probably different than Formula 1, knowing that they're not going to sell out. Kenny Wallace got a shot from Kyle Busch, which launched him to the inside of Meal. Harvick underneath the 32. Meal's in the wall on the outside. Up the middle is Kyle Busch as he had Kenseth down underneath him. Kenseth had an even bigger run than the 5 did. And Busch barely cleared to turn 1 as he blocks the 17. Good thing this track's wide. Widest 1.5 miles on the circuit. Not anymore, but this configuration it was. Seen some multi-groove racing tonight, which you usually don't see in this game. Edwards got by Kenseth through 3 and 4 that time. Back and forth for second goes Eric Crocker and John Hamilton. Bowyer continues to lead. Busch has such a massive lead in the point standings. He's just trying to protect good finishes at this point. Wins almost don't even really... I mean, yeah, they do matter, but... not like in the truck and the Cup Series, where we're kind of playing from behind. Crocker and Hamilton went to the outside through turns 1 and 2 there. And Busch is going to spin on the apron, gets clobbered by the 32 and the 60, and upside down on his lid in turns 3 and 4. They're trying to make a pass on Kenny Wallace. Clipped the apron, went right around. Elliott Sadler involved as well. 4-car crash, our second caution of the night, and a big wreck in 3 and 4. And a wild ride for Kyle Busch as he's going to have to pit. Can't pit for fuel or tires either. And everybody else is going to come down. This is a huge disadvantage for Kyle Busch. He'll get to the lead and get some track position. Heavy damage. It's not a good start for the 5 here. Mark Kern, thanks for tuning in. That was, yeah, that was not good. Any of the hairpins, good seats in my opinion. Yeah, I would kind of expected that. I know turn 1, is that the highest elevation on the racetrack in turn 1? I feel like maybe you could see more from there. On top of the crazy restarts, I would assume that we'll end up seeing. Well, the good news is Busch has 5 bonus points now. The bad news is he's got old tires compared to the rest of the field, and he's going to have to make a green flag stop. Mr. H, not having a good day today, I'll tell you that much. Vickers blew an engine on lap 9. Busch is flipped just after lap 20. Busch blocking for his life right now, and I don't think it's going to matter because he's probably going to go backwards on these older tires. Not going to lead a green flag lap. J.J. Yaley will lead the first lap following the restart. Luke Trigger to the inside as well. Busch on the outside lane. Yaley going wide. Also Busch all the way on the outside, and he's in the wall. He just had no grip there. Boyer got stuck on the outside behind the 5, and he's fallen quickly outside the top 10. He was leading when the caution came out. I think the car's just super tight with the damage now because it was not this tight before. Tried to fix as much of it as we could, but we weren't going to be able to fix everything after rolling over. This is a good chance for Boyer. Set himself alone in second with Vickers out. Busch having troubles. Ways behind him yet. I saw Crocker on the apron in the middle of the corner. How'd she not spin? It's like NASCAR 22 logic. Anybody that watched our Indy race yesterday, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm gonna clip. Oh, God. I didn't spin out that time. Why am I doing that? I think I'm just pushing too hard knowing how bad the car is. It's not as bad as I'm driving it. It's slow, but it's not as bad as I'm making it seem, handling-wise. This is just not a clean race for me, honestly. I expect more out of myself. You guys probably do too, and get no leeway at all. Up the track. And we're at a tire disadvantage right now too, which doesn't help. We're going to need a caution so we can pit. We're going to end up losing track position, but I'd rather lose it under a caution than under green. I mean, the best case scenario, we run this out for a little bit, then we're able to pit. And hopefully the rest of the field pits with us so we don't actually go all the way to the back. Still a long ways to go in this one, though, but 2 early cautions. I don't think we've seen the last. Saw some late yellows at Dover in the last race. Anything can happen. We came from a lap down once. The problem is we didn't have damage in that race. This race, we do have damage. Accidentally tagging Casey Kane getting into turn 3. Blocking Tony Stewart. We know that's Stewart because the 133 is in the lead right now. Sitting at 10 different winners in the Busch Series. One driver out of the race that has a win, which is Vickers. Won the season opener at Daytona. Kyle Busch, who has 10 wins. Off strategy right now. This could be his 3rd finish outside the top 10 this season. Said that about Dover, and he came back and won, though. And if anybody can make a comeback, it's Kyle Busch, especially in the Busch Series. Knowing his success, over 100 career wins total in the Xfinity Series to date. Nobody is spacing out right now in the top 15. Making for little room for error. It's probably why we have seen some mental mistakes already. Not only by Busch, but we saw that opening lap crash behind him as well. took out about a half a dozen cars. Busch right behind Martin, who makes a pass on J.J. Yaley. Kyle Busch also trying to do the same. I don't even know who's got the fastest car in this race today. Aaron Crocker's just taking the lead. We probably had 5 or 6 different leaders already. Bobby Labonte brushes the wall off turn 2. Jourdain's got a run on him in the 10. I believe he was involved in that opening caution. Busch overdrives turns 3 and 4 up the track. Lifts to keep it off the wall. It's going to allow Tony Stewart to make a pass on him for position. Busch right back to 14th again. Halfway on fuel at this point in the run for Kyle. We've had about 6 caution laps in this race. Yeah, I talked about it a little bit last night, about the Monday Night Football game. I don't want to, you know, obviously, condolences, you know, thoughts definitely with him and his family, but I try not to glorify stuff like that. I mean, it's sad, you know, like, I'm not one person to talk about negative stuff, even if I get, you know, touching on it from a news standpoint. It is news. It has to be touched on to a certain extent. But hopefully best wishes are with him, and the worst of what has happened hopefully has already passed. It reminds me, I didn't really talk about it too much last night, but it reminds me of Ryan Newman's scare in the Daytona 500. Honestly, I didn't see this live, so I can't compare it from my standpoint. But like the outreach on social media that you saw a lot of fans, you know, just openly hoping that he would pull through, really reminded me of that situation. The difference is in NASCAR and in racing in general, we've seen a lot of, you know, life-threatening things happen in the past. You know, whether it's been recently or obviously, you know, drivers have lost their lives in racing. It's no news, I guess, to anybody that has happened. It's just rare to have it in football. It hasn't happened in football. Not that I'm aware of. I don't watch it as religiously as I do, you know, racing and NASCAR, so I wouldn't know 100%, but from, you know, interviews I've watched and just my knowledge of the sport, nothing like that has ever happened. I think that's what was so shocking about it, that it was that big of a freak accident. Plus, when you consider the fact that the NFL is the most watched sport, you know, it's going to reach more globally than what, you know, say Newman's accident did a few years ago, or racing in general. Definitely cool to see everybody come together, though, so definitely. And, you know, if we look at the only real good thing that came out of this, other than, for the most part, everybody kind of, you know, wishing him the best of luck. I haven't seen anything, obviously. I'm sure there's some people trolling that have said negative things. I mean, that just happens, but a lot of unity. No. Denny Hamlin's not related to DeMar Hamlin. They have the same initials, too. That is kind of weird, but no relation, as far as I know. But it was a similar situation, though, because, I mean, I was checking social media, as I'm sure a lot of people were, just kind of constantly checking on updates to see if he was okay. The only difference, too, or another difference, I guess, with this too is you never got the news that, you know, he was and even to this point that he's going to survive. With Ryan Newman's incident a few years ago, about 4 or 5 hours after the fact, I can remember, you know, Bob Pockris and just a bunch of people reporting on Twitter that he was in critical condition, but it was non-life threatening. But we haven't seen that from Damar Hamlin to this point, and it's still a couple days after the fact, which definitely still makes it a scary thing. 29.918 was the fastest lap of the race for Kyle Busch that last time by. Top 11 still under a blanket right now, as Eric Crocker leads and is not pulling away. It's like new super speedway Atlanta, but at old Atlanta, with an old car and an old game, on an old console, and old drivers. Everything old. Busch back inside the top 10. I think the tire's kind of slowly evening out over time. He really only has about 15 to 20 lap fresher, or older tires, I should say. Definitely a difference. But now that we're over that far into the run, I think that's why they're starting to even out just a little bit. And he's made a couple passes per position on some decent cars at least, like Mark Martin and Matt Kenseth. I think he's got by Boyer in recent laps as well. Still behind Tony Stewart. John Hamilton just in front of him. Boyer actually might be up to second. There is a blue car up there. Busch going to be 3 wide middle off turn 2 as he gets to the inside of John Hamilton. Matt Kenseth on the 17 is there. Big block by Busch on the 17. Did not want to be 3 wide middle going into 3. He'll clear Hamilton up on the outside off turn 4. Hamilton against the wall. Busch back down to block Kenseth. That was a clean block that time. 50 laps in at the Atlanta Motor Speedway today. Still sitting at 2 cautions. Just over 150 to go. Yeah, unfortunately, that's one thing that I do like, you know, with YouTube, is I can create the content I want. I would never go out of my way to create content over something like that happened the other night. I mean, we could talk about it on stream, but I'm not gonna, like, bring... Even if it was NASCAR related, like, I didn't do that with Ryan Newman's accident. Heck, if anything, at the time when I was actually posting, that was, I think, the first weekend I had the channel. If I really wanted to, I could have pulled so many views from that, and I didn't. Man, Stewart and Boyer slowed each other down a ton there. Thought Busch was going to be able to get underneath them 3 wide. He will follow Stewart, though, to get underneath the 2. Working his way up the track. Kenseth to the bottom. Busch has cleared Boyer, but he still has Kenseth underneath him into turn 1. Kyle a little loose on that outside lane. Boyer down to the bottom. I think another good example too, obviously for those of you that, if you don't know, I do post content at the track, specifically when I go to races, of race highlight videos from the grandstands, and then clips, you know, from there that I'll upload individually from that weekend's events. And I thought at the time, obviously, you know, I don't think it was a bad idea. Hindsight, you know, it's 2020. But I uploaded the fans booing Ty Gibbs because they were booing him loud when he won the Xfinity Championship. And I posted that night, you know, the video. And I didn't know his father, Coy Gibbs, had passed away until I was at the track during the pre-race, because I didn't, you know, really look on my phone when I was at the track. So I didn't know about it until they mentioned it, like, right before the national anthem. And as soon as I found out about it, luckily I had internet connection. I was able to take that video down. Put up a community post saying that I was taking it down. And I mean, it had, up to that point, a couple thousand views already, which is good, you know, for my content, knowing how small the channel is. But the views don't matter when it comes to stuff like that. They shouldn't. Busch up to 9th. He is going to have to pit before everybody else because he did not pit for fuel or tires with that last caution. Couldn't because he caused the accident. Stewart back to the inside of Kyle Busch. Gonna get around him. Busch had to lift to keep it off the wall. Car's definitely on the tighter side of things right now. Gonna have to make an adjustment during this first stop to try to help free it up. Talk about the fake, not the fake account. I think I know what you're talking about with some NASCAR accounts. I've seen a video. I think Jet posted a video a while back, a couple of them, about those accounts. And I had known about it before. Yeah, it's just, it's crazy. And the fact that, like, most of it is not even factual. Like, if you want to clickbait, you know, that doesn't really bother me too much to clickbait. Unless you're putting, you know, fake stuff in the actual video. But if you're just leaving it on the thumbnail, so be it. A lot of, I mean, there's very few content creators that don't do it. I mean, it's the whole point of kind of making a thumbnail is to catch the viewer's attention. And, you know, that's one way to do it. Even if it, you know, seems kind of fishy. But at least, like, when you're watching the video, if it's truthful, then, you know, I don't think there's really anything wrong with it. But, yeah, there are definitely some accounts out there. And it's like that for, you know, every sport. It's not just in racing. It's just in racing, I've noticed those views are a lot more than, like, the actual, you know, the factual stuff. Like, if you want to watch, you know, content for NASCAR news, like I mentioned, Jet's channel, you know, Eric E. stuff, the big NASCAR YouTubers that you guys probably already know of. You know, there's those guys, but those other videos, they're pulling so many more views than those guys, which is insane. And those channels haven't even been up that long either. I'm a big pro wrestling fan. That's the only other kind of content I can think of where there's like fake news and stuff, and there's a couple channels that are basically the same way, and they're pulling millions of views versus these other channels that are pulling in quite a few views, but, you know, not talking about made up behind the scenes stuff. It's crazy. I mean, I could get watching it to get a laugh out of it because of how bad it is. Like, that's would be the only reason why I personally watch it, but I choose not to watch it because I know if I do that, then the algorithm is going to only favor it by watching it. So that's the reason why I don't. Busch will stay out one more lap. He's going to pit at lap 65 as he's on the inside of Clint Boyer. Not going to do what I did at Indy in the Cup race yesterday, and that's run out of gas. Yeah, I stopped watching a lot of like the rumor stuff because I didn't like what I was watching, just for the fact that it did kind of spoil it because of how accurate those guys were with, you know, whether it was predicting stuff or whatever. Like, I can kind of predict things most of the time. You can see it coming, but there's some stuff like, you know, like Royal Rumble rumors or whatever we're getting around that time of the year of who might show up. I do not want to watch it. I want to be surprised when I watch it. That's the one thing that sucks about the internet, because it does kind of spoil it. Kind of takes the surprise out of it for sure, which takes the fan reaction out of it, which kind of diminishes the product. On pit road for the first time today, 4 tires and fuel. Green flag stop for Kyle Busch. I didn't make any adjustments. I just kind of realized that, which is not good. But hopefully the tires will help. You'd have to imagine with that spin that the tires were pretty cooked. The only car out of the race right now seems to be Brian Vickers, as Busch is back in the 42nd place position. And again, Vickers has been out since about lap 9. Busch coming out of the pits here. He's going to cycle into some traffic, it looks like, by the time he gets up to speed. He's not really going to have clean air to work with. Probably give it another 15 to 20 laps and everybody else is going to pit, so really needs it to stay green until then. He is in the free pass position, being the only car a lap down, but he would be at the tail end of the field. He's hoping on these fresh tires he can make up a little bit of time. He was in 10th when he pitted, just a couple seconds off the lead. I've been asked that before. No, I'm not related to Ben Schneider. I think he's Canadian, if I'm not mistaken. We're not even from the same country. Not saying that that doesn't mean we're not related, but... yeah, there is no relation between us. It's weird because our last name is actually spelled the same, too. I mean, it's a somewhat common last name. It's not, like, extremely common, like a Smith or a Johnson or something like that, but... oh yeah, I watch a lot of Brock Beard's content. Probably the most underrated NASCAR YouTuber out there, if I had to pinpoint one specific channel. A lot of great documentaries for a long time. Harvick sitting behind the 80, or I said Harvick. This is not NASCAR 21. Kyle Busch sitting behind the 83 car right now. Running consistent 29.9s. He's definitely faster, and the car's got more grip than what it did before, just with the fresh tire advantage, even with being in the dirty air. I haven't watched all of the most recent series he's doing right now in the 500 days until the 2001 Daytona 500. I watched like half of the part 1 so far. But it's so far so good. Find the time to watch it, I would definitely so. Russell Talk won't mention spoilers. I mean, they'll tell you when they do, too, though. I mean, that's the good thing. But it is kind of hard, you know, to watch sometimes. I like watching Simon Miller. I mean, I've been into, like, fitness and stuff, too. That's why I like his channel, just because he is a wrestling fan and he talks about fitness on top of it, so. And there's a lot of other fitness YouTubers I watch, too. I mean, my YouTube consummation consists of golf, NASCAR, and fitness. So like that, it's that's pretty much about it. That's what I watch on YouTube, and that's basically my entertainment. If I'm not watching live sports, I'm watching any of that stuff. If it's not pro wrestling or sports, you know, that I'm watching like live, that's like the only TV I watch, and then that's the content I watch YouTube wise. never really got into like watching movies. Never been a big movie person or watching a series on Netflix. I just don't have the time for that, really. I don't want to... I mean, I probably would have the time if I made the time. Like, I always think, like, saying I don't have time, I feel like that's an excuse. If I really wanted to squeeze the time in, I could, but there's other stuff I'd rather do. Like go out golfing. Or working out, or... this. People who enjoy golf have too much money. I mean, just... it's cheap if you get a membership, and you don't even have to... it's cheaper to get a membership, and I'm not saying you have to get one at, like, an executive course. Like, the course I have a membership at, it's a nice course. It's not, like, 10 out of 10. I'd probably give it, like, a 7 to 8 out of 10 course. It's a good course. $600, I walk. I don't get a cart. $600, and it's paid for all year. I don't have to put the money down all at once. I could literally pay like $100 a month from like April through September. $100 a month to play golf for 6 months. And I could play for free when I go out there. I usually try to go to a different course like once a week or once every other week just to, you know, try to keep my game up. Because if I play the same course like over and over again, I'm going to be good there. But if I go somewhere else, I'll struggle, which still happens from time to time. But it doesn't happen as much because I try to go somewhere else once a week. But if you do that and you play at least twice a week for like 6 months out of the year, you're going to more than make your money's worth. I mean, if I were to get a cart and play at that course on the weekend, for instance, say I just play Saturdays and Sundays, theoretically, it's going to cost me like $30 to $35 to play every Saturday, Sunday, each day. So that's like $70 to play a full weekend. $600 a year I could play. So, I mean, it's so cost affordable to do that. And you don't need to get super expensive clubs, especially if you're just starting out. I didn't. I don't think anybody does, unless they get, you know, hand-me-downs that are really good clubs. You don't need to. When you're just learning how to play, just, you know, you're not going to be great at it. So, I mean, you might as well just practice, get the mechanics down, and then when you get a couple years in, maybe, you know, upgrade a club or two during the winter at a time. There's definitely ways to make it more affordable. Like, you know, I mean, I would love to. I would love to play at Augusta. Obviously, it'd be every golfer's dream. But I played, I think the most pristine course I've played was TPC Myrtle Beach. And I'm surprised at how cheap it was. It was $70 for me to play around with a cart. That's like a steal. And it's more than that, but I played Twilight Time, and it was in the summer, which basically it was like the heat of the day. I think it was like above 90 degrees and super humid in South Carolina. So in September, I think it was Labor Day weekend when I went there for Darlington. I played there. I was like, $70? Heck yeah. Greatest, super nice course. It's well worth the money, even if you're sweating to death for like 3 hours. To play on a course like that good for that cheap. Like I said, I could have paid 2 rounds of golf at my local course on a weekend for that same price I played there. I think they have the senior PGA championship there. At least they hosted it that year I went. I don't know if it's an annual thing, but they hosted it in 2020 there. So, I mean, it was a really nice course. Or the Tour Championship, not the PGA. The Senior Tour Championship. Kyle Busch finally gets around the 83. You've sit behind him for a while. We've been in the middle of green flag pit stops. Notice Martin Truex Jr. is just taking the race lead away. First time he's led today. So they're all pitting about 16 to 18 laps after Kyle Busch. We'll see where Busch is going to cycle once we get all the way through these stops. He was in 10th. We'd imagine with the fresher tires, he's going to be able to get some of these spots back. It's going to be interesting if he's going to have to pit an extra time, though, in this race. That's going to really be what's going to cost him. Cycles right behind Luke Trigger in the 133, who's definitely in front of him prior to the stops, and he did cycle ahead of Boyer and Stewart, who he was racing around. He's a couple seconds ahead of those guys. Still a lap down. Kenny Wallace now leads. '25th anniversary playing golf. I think next year will be my 7th or 8th year. I think I've played for 6 so far. I think it'll be my 7th year next year. I wish I would have played when I was... I mean, that's like, everybody who gets into it, I feel like everybody says, I wish I would have started when I was younger. Unless they were, like, 6 years old when they started. But then even those people will probably say, I wish I started when I was 4. I don't know. It's just, it's fun. It's really addicting, though. If you're a competitive person, because, I mean, that's the great thing about it. You're just competitive with yourself. Like, there's always a score you could beat. It's never good enough. I'm a competitive person, so not playing, like, any competitive sports, you know, being well out of high school, just, like, that's one thing I'm able to do for the rest of my life. Mark Martin on pit road right now. After leading for the first time during green flag pit stops, Aaron Crocker, who was leading for a while, as well as Martin Truex Jr., who led some laps during the stops as well, not that far in front of Busch. Busch already up to 10th as he cycles in front of Shane Meal. He's having problems trying to keep up with Luke Trigger, though. Brandon Miller in the pits. No adjustments were made by Kyle Busch during the first stop. Everybody else has pitted twice, so they've had one extra stop to try to make an adjustment versus Busch. Busch going up the track a little bit. Has cycled from 10th to 4th, though, and he's less than a second off the lead. Top 3 definitely within sight. Right in front of Matt Kenseth in the 17 car. Trigger looking to the inside of Truex, not quite going to get there. I mean, people that play bowling are kind of the same way, you know, with golf. Like, there's always a score to beat. I mean, except for in bowling, I guess you can get a perfect score. There is no perfect score in golf. You can't ace every hole. It's impossible. People are lucky to get one in their lifetime. I mean, you're lucky to get a perfect game, I guess, if you're a regular bowler in your lifetime, but there is a, you know, that's like the perfect score to try to chase, but even if you get to, like, even par for the first time, which I haven't done for 18 holes yet, so it's still kind of like my goal to break even. I came so close at the end of the year last year. If you would have given me a couple more weeks, I think I would have gotten it. The game was really starting to click, but at the wrong time. I think my last 4 out of 5 rounds I played, I had 3 over par or better. And the day I shot a 71, which was 1 over for me at the course I was playing at, I should have had even par. I think I was 1 under through 15 and ended up having 2 bogeys in the last 3 holes. Just a mental collapse there at the end. It got to me. The pressure got to me. So I was like, man, I might shoot in the 60s if I just par out. Started thinking about it too much. I put too much pressure on myself and I choked. Oh yeah, for professionals, definitely. I was just kind of talking about like the average. I mean, like hole-in-ones for professional golfers, you know, they can get a couple in a year. It's kind of the same thing. But like just like an average golfer, you're lucky to get one in your lifetime. And that's one thing, though, no matter how good or bad you are, a hole-in-one's literally achievable for anybody. Like, you can get super lucky, thin a shot, and it rolls in the right yardage at random. I mean, I've seen chip-ins from people that had no business chipping it in. Like, I saw a hole out from, like, well, a buddy of mine, for instance, he holed one out from, like, 100 yards once. And it was, like, his second year playing. And he was good for only being in his second year, but to hole one out like that, and I don't think I've ever holed one out that far away, and I've been playing, I've been close. I mean, I've holed one out from a little less than that, but I don't think I've holed one out for more than 100 yards. I've been playing for 6 years. I mean, like, I've had eagles on par 5s, but, or chip-ins. Like, if it's a short enough par 4. So my short game's pretty good, but yeah, not from holding it out that far, though. Thought Busch was going to start to fade there for a little bit. Luke Traeger made a pass on Truex a handful of laps ago, and he is really putting a lot of pressure on Aaron Crocker. Crocker has a win on a mile and a half this season at Las Vegas. So she has already proven this season she can get it done. Looking for a top 5 points finish. Oh, Busch got really tight that time. I think he was close enough behind the 8 in the dirty air. He'll drop in line behind Kenseth in 5th. Busch clips the apron for the second time. And luckily he saved it that time. But again, he can't pit for fuel or tires, causing the accident. And now he's going to lose all the track position. Everybody else going to stay out. Man, we were just kind of rolling around in 5th there pretty good. I forgot how treacherous the apron was at Atlanta. I don't remember really ever having issues clipping the apron at Atlanta, but today we've done it twice. I don't know. That is not good, because all that track position Busch has at least barely been able to hold on to today. And now he's going to have to come from the back, and he's still on old tires. Green flag back in the air, 100 laps to go following our 3rd caution of the race. Crocker leads the field to the green. Of course, Busch not good on the restarts either, which is going to be problematic for him. As far as, like, making the game up, I know they announced that they weren't going to make the game up this week. It'd be too short of notice, I feel like, between games. They're going to do everything they can to make it up, though. Because there's just, I mean, as far as just the playoff implications, there's just so much on the line for both teams. Like, Buffalo could get the #1 seed, but they're not going to get it if they can't play that game, so... Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I know an idea that I heard on the... I listen to the Pat McAfee show from time to time. And he mentioned on one of the videos that I watched that he had heard like murmurings, and obviously it's just rumors, so say what you will, but I think it's a good idea that they just cancel the Pro Bowl, play this week out, and then just play the Bills and like just give everybody a bye week. Obviously early off season for whoever doesn't make the playoffs, but just give an extra bye week to everybody except for Buffalo and Cincy. They play their game that next Sunday, and each round of the playoffs basically gets moved. I think logistically, I mean, it makes sense. I don't see... Because you got to figure the TV time slots aren't set for any of the games because the playoffs, we don't even know who's playing each other in the playoffs yet. I feel like that logistically would probably make the most sense. I mean, let's face it too, more people are going to end up watching the Cincy Bills game than the Pro Bowl anyway. Busch keeping up with cars at the back of the pack. The problem is, I don't know how he's going to get all this track position. He doesn't have the fastest car in the field anywhere close to it. He's got a top 10 car on equal tires, but not quite as quick as what we qualified and what we were in practice. I'm quite surprised. Just keeps shooting himself in the foot. 2 spins in this race. He was lucky he saved the last one, though. No extra damage. Still just Vickers out of the race. Everybody else is in. I'm thinking Busch should be able to make it on 2 stops, but everybody else might be able to make it on 1 still. Busch needed to caution him because he was the one that spun. That was the worst thing that could have happened. To the inside of the 157, back straightaway, getting squeezed quite a bit too. Stay on the bottom, 3 wide. Oh, contact! About caused another wreck. Kept drifting wider and wider and wider in the middle of the corner, and he was desperately trying not to get out of the throttle. I agree with you, JC. I mean, I grew up watching dirt racing, you know, going to dirt races a lot. It was cool going to a couple last year for the first time in a while. I'm not going to be going to quite as many NASCAR races as I did the last couple years. Next year, I mean, I'm probably going to end up hitting like 6 or 7, but I think I went to 11 races each of the last 2 years. I'm definitely not going to be doing that this year. Try to focus a little bit more on the live commentary side of things. Go to a couple tracks I haven't been to yet, but try to see how that works for me. So with that being the case, you know, days that Xfinity or truck races are in the afternoon on a Saturday and I can go to a local dirt race on a Saturday night, I'll probably end up doing that. I went to Eldora once for a World of Outlaw show last year, and then I just went for like a local race at a dirt track probably 15-20 minutes from where I live once last year also. Flirting with that white line again, and I immediately just let the car drift up the track and get out of the gas. Somehow stayed underneath the 116. I thought he was just going to easily blow around me when that happened. Erin Crocker's still in the lead. She's held on to the lead pretty much ever since the cycling of those second pit stops. No, I know it is. I wouldn't be going to that many races if I wasn't getting content at the track. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that, you know, people watch that stuff. It really helps me out. Trust me when I say I'm thankful for it. I mean, for the longest time, I mean, it took me a long time before I went to my first NASCAR race. I didn't go to my first NASCAR race until I was 16. My grandpa took me. I never went when I was younger. And then even after that, I didn't go again until I was 18, had my own license and own car, and went myself. I was like, you know what? I'm going to start doing this. Went to Michigan a couple times that year, and then I was like, you know what? It'd be cool to go to a different track. Then I, you know, drove like 3 hours to Kentucky, and that was pretty cool. Went to Indy 2018. I didn't start the channel until 2020. Right at the start of the season. That year I went to a few races. Obviously, you know, COVID, I probably would have went to a few more, but that car blowing up down on the apron. I think Shane Meal just blew an engine in the 32. Another one of the drivers that was inside the top 5 consistently today is now done. It's the second driver that has led laps today to have an early exit. We saw that out of Vickers in the first 10 laps as well. And he was leading at the time of himself blowing an engine. He could have been somebody who could have ran away and dominated this race, but we'll never know for sure. The track is exactly too far away from me. Yeah, that's the way I kind of think about it too, JC. I mean, for like driving purposes, maybe. And usually I'm one for driving everywhere, but I wasn't driving 30 hours to get to Phoenix this year. That just wasn't going to happen. I don't have that kind of time. I mean, if I didn't have a full-time job to have to report to, like the next... Yeah, I had vacation accumulated, so I was able to take a couple extra days off, because usually I just take unpaid one day, basically just take a 3-day weekend, and I'm back at work Tuesday morning after getting home from whatever track I go to Monday evening. It's tough. I do it, though. It's the hassle of trying to, you know, I guess trying to grow a YouTube channel while still busting out hours at work so I can afford to do that stuff. Still get my hours in the week. They're cool with it, which is awesome. Here's why I've been at the place I've been working at for 2 years. I mean, that alone just, you know, keeps me happy. I have no complaints with the place. Because I don't know if there's another job out there that'll have the same kind of leeway. Take me seriously when I, you know, set out for what I want to do, and they have my full support. Like, yeah, as long as I give them enough awareness for it. I mean, I have a good idea of what tracks I'm going to next season. Like, last year, I had literally every date planned, like, right before the season started. Carjoy, thanks for tuning in. Well, dirt track never been to, about an hour away. Yeah, I mean, there's local short tracks and dirt tracks like everywhere in the country. Within reasonable driving distance of pretty much everywhere. It's crazy. I wonder how many, like, local racers there are. Like, there's so many. There's so many adults that probably race, like, modifieds or something at a random short track every weekend. Busch has made his way to 30th. Likely going to have to pit before everybody else. I'm considering going fuel only. Trying to get some track position and then short pit the final stop. Or take tires the first time and then go fuel only on the last one. That would probably be maybe a little bit wiser to do. But there's a couple strategies we have up our sleeves here to try to get this track position back. Our worst finish is 17th, and that 3.9 average finish is hanging in the balance of it. We don't want to finish too far back in the field. I want to keep that thing below 4 the rest of the season. I don't know what the record is in the Xfinity Series for the best average finish in the season, but we've got to be pretty darn close to it. Even with all those years of the bushwhacking going on, I think we're pretty close. 3 wide, almost 4 wide in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Luckily, there were 3 by the time they got to the exit of the corner. Busch trying to side drop the 103. He's got the 117 down low. Just cleared the 152. And Busch on a little bit older tires, especially with that spin he had. Great car control, though. Oh, gets body slammed by the 103 going down into turn 1. That was not Kyle Busch's fault there. 103 went immediately into the wall. We stay green. Definitely going to make some adjustments on this next stop. Busch is going to go to lap 131. He'll stay out this time by. He'll pit at lap 131, which would be about 72 laps to go. He's going to be about 7-8 laps short on fuel. So that means everybody's only going to have to pit once. We're going to go one more. It's risky, but man, oh man. If we had a caution right now, that'd be beautiful. That would kill some extra laps. Get the pit under yellow. Not gonna happen though. Stayed out an extra lap. We'll go one more. I don't know if that's a good call, but we're gonna try. We'll have 70 laps to go when Busch comes out of the pits now. Really trying to push it on fuel. Well, the good thing is that this is a 1.5 mile track, so I should get back to pit road depending on where I run out. Yeah, we're gonna pit this time. Pushed it about 2 extra laps there, but it worked. Kyle Busch coming into the pits right as he runs out, but he was already on the brakes anyway, so that was perfect. 4 tires and fuel, going to take a half round of wedge out of the car, and we are going to add about 3 pounds of air pressure. 4 tires and fuel for Kyle Busch. Gonna have to go 70 laps on fuel to the end. Oh, we pushed it as far as we could. I mean, that worked out perfectly, honestly. Hopefully the car's going to have a little more speed in it with this adjustment change. One can only hope. We were about 27th, I believe, when we pitted. 2 cars out, Shane Meal and Brian Vickers. Now, with the car being looser, it's going to want to go to the apron a little more, so... We were already hitting the apron before. Hopefully I don't have to worry about it this time. But we'll see, and hopefully the car's not going to be too loose on the long run, but... I have to bite the bullet. I'm really hoping we can go... If we get a caution, we can make it. If we get a caution, I think we can make it. If we stay green, though, I think we're going to be about 3 laps short. By my calculations. Just ran our fast lap. 29.873. So, Busch, I think, has made the right adjustment change to this car. That worked beautifully for him. Just got to hope he has the long run speed. And short pitting by a little bit, he'll hopefully be able to make it. Man, if this race was 200 laps, they added the extra 12 miles. If it was 300 miles, this race would be about 3 laps shorter. It'd be about 199. That is literally the difference in Kyle Busch being able to make it versus not making it. This weird race length of 312 miles might cost Kyle Busch. And I kind of wondered coming into this race today if we were going to have any sort of a fuel efficiency problem, knowing it was going to be a little longer, but the way the cautions played out, it does seem like it's going to be that. Need it to stay green at least long enough for everybody to cycle through pit stops, and then we hope and... I don't know if I want a caution. Caution's going to help us make it, but if we pit, we're just going to be right back to where we were. I don't have a car that's quick enough to get through the field like I did at Dover. Dover had the fastest car. Today, we're lucky if we have a top 10 car. I think I do have a top 10 car. I don't want to, kid myself here. Probably have like a 5th to 8th place car. .195 is 300.3. I mean, it's 312. Oh, yeah, you're right. 1.5 miles. I did my math wrong. I was counting it like it was a 2.5 mile track for some reason. All right, we have cars pitting with about 63 to go, so rather 65 to go. Busch is a lap down, so about 64. 64 laps left, and we see a bunch of cars on pit road right now. Be interesting to see where exactly Kyle Busch will cycle. Can have about 7 to 8 lap older tires. Put a neutral in this game? I could, but I'd probably blow the engine if I did that. If I downshifted to neutral, I'd probably be redlining like crazy. Because you'd have to drop it all the way down to... Like, you'd have to drop from 3rd, 4th to 2nd to 1st, and I'd probably blow a motor before I get to neutral, then back up to 4th. It'd be so slow, so... I mean, that's one way to do it, but... We saw Vickers blow an engine today, so I don't fully trust that this one's going to make it. We're not as fast as him, so we should probably make it. I'm not really pushing the RPMs too hard at the end of the straightaways. Busch got crowded quite a bit that time getting into turn 3. He will make a nice pass, though, on the 112. Still running 29.8s. 29.8s, 29.9s. Whole lap was a 30.30. I don't think I ran that fast this entire race. I don't know why the car was so slow compared to qualifying. I mean, yes, I was in traffic, but still. NASCAR 05 had a clutch of some kind. I mean, maybe the game does. I don't know it, though. I wish all NASCAR games had it. I mean, it's legitimate, logistical feature. At least you could save some gas by just not using throttle or brake. Just kind of backing off into the corner. It does help. Really don't want to have to go into fuel-saving mode, though. Especially when we're already behind. We got a massive points lead. Might as well go for it. Lose 150-plus points. Well, I mean, Boyer's leading right now. Boyer goes on to win. It would hurt Kyle Busch, but he'd still have a couple race lead in the standings with about 7 races to go. Just have to hope that we don't have any more problems in the next 7 races. Got a couple short tracks coming up, and that's my strong suit in this game. So, with the UPS Speedway and Bristol back-to-back in the next 2 races. Busch wedges himself underneath a couple cars through turns 1 and 2. It's up to 36. Quite a few drivers still have to pit. He's still a lap down. Kenseth leads. I believe this is the first time Kenseth has led. We've had quite a few different leaders, a lot of which during the green flag pit stops, but early in the race we saw a lot of lead changes on the racetrack, actually battling for position. I don't think there's too many more cars we're going to cycle in front of. I think we lost time despite pitting earlier. Mr. Clean Crew had a clean stop, too. I don't know what the problem was. When I ran out of gas, I was already on the apron breaking into the pits anyway, so that didn't cost me any time. If anything, it probably helped me from speeding. Not that I was going to speed, but there's no chance of speeding at that point. Edwards still on the racetrack. Wondering interval-wise how far Busch is going to be off the lead. We had a late caution with about 20 to go in the last race at Dover. So I'm not going to say it's impossible that we don't get a caution in this one. The problem is Busch is not good on the restarts, though. So even if we got a yellow, it's going to be hard to keep up with the cars in front of us. Everybody else should be able to make it on fuel. .29.854, another quickest lap of the race for Kyle Busch. Truex still leading. And now he'll pit this time by. I believe Truex is the last car to pit. Well, we got a couple more pitting yet with him. 152 is in. 29.776 for Kyle Busch. Picked up almost a tenth. About 0.08 of a second quicker than his previous lap, which was the fastest up to that point. Back straightaway, 3 wide. Into turns 3 and 4. Busch up the track a little bit. Oh, he crashed! Oh, no! They have crashed. That is not a caution Busch needed, because he caused it. Oh, man, I just pushed too hard there. I didn't lift. I didn't lift. I mean, I lifted to get into the corner, but I got back in the gas too soon, considering we were 3 wide. I was trying to follow the car in front of me, and I think I was getting a little tight in the dirty air and just didn't lift. Miller slides onto pit road. Caution flag is out for the 4th time today. That's going to set up a late restart. Busch is going to have to go to the tail end, causing his 3rd caution of the day. It has just not been a clean race for the 5. We were on the lead lap. which was good. If that came out a lap sooner, we would have been a lap down still. Can't pit for fuel or tires. Tires probably going to be shot after yet another spin today for Kyle Busch. This is just... man. Not a good race for Busch. Definitely the worst race of the season for myself so far. I mean, we have not... Auto Club is the only one that was kind of, you know, not great. We finished 14th. Well, Charlotte obviously wasn't a good finish, but we had speed. Auto Club, I didn't have a good car at all in that race. This car is not as bad as that. Nobody else pitted, so that tells me they're going to be able to make it on fuel to the end. I mean, that caution might help us make it on fuel, but now we've lost some positions, so it was kind of a lose-lose situation there. Truex leads. Busch trying to block the 56 into 3 and 4, not going to be able to. Busch let the 56 car go, and wow, 56 completely overdrove turns 1 and 2, so that was a crossover for Busch. Wasn't expecting to actually make a pass on him. Oh. Tires are shot on the 5. We get a caution on pitting. Might as well. We're at the tail end of the field. Take some fresh tires. Then we'll guarantee for fact we'll make it upfield. We're still close. Closer to what we were before if we were short. Truex is in the lead. I think he might have been on pit road when the caution came out, but he was the leader, so he was able to make his stop because he already hit the commitment line, and now he's in the lead. So that was a great caution for Truex because he probably wouldn't have cycled back into the lead. Crocker was leading the majority of the middle portion of the race up until that point. We still have a little over 40 laps left. Yeah, I really like the Almirols. I say Almirol. Armorall schemes. Right when the 43 team was having some success, too. That's surprising considering Jimmy Johnson's now a co-owner of the team. Still lost some sponsorship. That's just the current business model. When you have 2 7-time champs co-owning a race team, literally 2 of the Mount Rushmores in NASCAR co-owning a race team, you still have sponsors leaving. That isn't telling of it. I don't know what is. Busch finally starting to catch back up to this pack. Took him 5-6 laps after the restart. Makes a pass for 37th. A little slide job getting into turns 1 and 2. .40 laps to go at the line. Here it's 3:12 at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. If Busch can make it on fuel, he might have speed to get back in the top 10. And if the tires can last, because he burned them off, obviously, with that spin. And he loosened the car up before the spin. The spin was because of contact and being 3 wide deep into 3 and 4, and he just couldn't hold the bottom. Yeah, some of it definitely isn't NASCAR's fault for sure. I'm not going to put all the blame on him. It might have sounded like I did. Sorry if I came off that way. I'm hoping the car doesn't get too close behind the back bumper of Busch, especially as we get later into the run, because I feel like I'm going to get really loose. Like spinning out, arrow loose. Goes to the inside of the 116. Stays low into turns 1 and 2. Not technically coming back from a lap down today, like we did at Dover. And we were a lap down during green flag pit stops, but we never actually went a lap down, had to make our lap up like we did at Dover. But today, definitely coming from deep in the field. And remember, we flipped during the second caution too, so we were lucky not to DNF, let alone have at least a decent car after the adjustment changes in this race as well. Halfway on fuel, 35 laps to go at the line. Still might be a little bit short on gas to make it to the end. So many cars on the lead lap still with the timing of all the yellows we've had. They've been pretty evenly spaced out. Busch up to 30th again, way up the racetrack, had to lift to keep it off the wall. Got a big run off turn 4, gets back to the bottom by the time he gets into turn 1, so that actually worked out. Worked as a slide job, I guess. It's kind of crazy I had that much momentum off the exit of the corner. Boyer to the lead. Just took it away going into turn 3. Little contact, Busch bullying his way past another car. Lucky not to cause another wreck there. .32 to go at the line. Busch taking it 3 wide. Oh, clip the grass there. Cut my momentum off. I don't know if Busch is going to be able to stay 3 wide. Got a little loose getting into 1. Probably a good thing I did, because I don't know if I would have made it 3 wide. We didn't earlier. Well, that was on this end of the track, which is where we've pretty much seen every crash today. You know what, I just kind of realized I think we've been involved in every... No, never mind. The first caution on lap 1, we were not involved. The other 3, we were. Tires definitely wore out a little bit. This point in the run, and you could tell by the lap times alone, because Busch was running 29.7s before his spin. I don't think he's gotten back into the 29.8s since the restart. Finally gets underneath the 152, and they get hooked on each other. Had a stroke. I'm good now. My brain turned off there for a second and then just turned right back on mid-sentence. I didn't forget what I was going to say, I just forgot how to say it. About 13 diecasts this year. I don't know how many I got last year alone. I mean, I started the collection the year before. I mean, most of them I got were between Daytona. Oh boy. Dirt Bristol, I got quite a few there. I got more at Bristol both last year and this year. Probably every other track combined. I kid you not, I think I got like 10 diecasts that weekend. But I don't think I spent more than like $100. Just getting a bunch of $10 diecasts. I probably spent more than 10 on a couple of them. Maybe like 10 to... I don't think I spent more than 30 on one, though. Most of them were $10. Because I had like 3 or 4 of them out of the box. We're starting to stall out right now in 21st. Was about 4.7 seconds off the lead. Now it's about 5.2. Oh, car in the wall. Contact. Back straightaway. And Busch missed. Almost missed. Heavy damage on the front of the 5. I tried to check up and it was too late. They were 3 wide off of turn 2. The 83 involved for the second time today. And Busch has heavy damage on the front of his race car there. Down into the inside wall head on goes the 83 and a lazy spin on the back straightaway, and Busch is going to have to pit. Unfortunately, he can't pit for fuel or tires, being involved in the accident. We were close on fuel before. We should be able to make it now, but that was not good. Over 7 seconds of damage. I literally pinballed. I hit the car in the middle, which kind of turned the other one, Brian Vickers' 06 Talladega style, kind of hooked the other two, and yeah, that was a big hit. We didn't cause it, but we were definitely involved. Heavy damage. And from 21st to the back again goes Kyle Busch. Arca brakes. I wasn't going full speed into there. I did get on the brakes, just not in time. Spun the tires on the restart. Green flag back in the air as we're down to 20 to go. 39th for Kyle Busch. Might be able to make it on fuel now, but at the same time, that was not good. Clint Boyer trying to survive a restart. Looks like they're 3 wide for the lead off the exit of turn 4 at the front of the field. Mark Martin will get to the lead off of turn 4. And Martin trying to pick up his 3rd win of the season. To time for the 2nd most. This car was loose before. It is even looser now. Well, there goes any shot of a top 20, I think. This is definitely going to be our worst finish of the year. There's no way we're getting inside the top 17. Even if we get another caution where I can pit for fuel and tires, we're going to have less than 15 laps to go by that point, and that's if we were to get a yellow now. Boyer not leading anymore, but he's definitely up there. I still think we're short on fuel. "17 laps to go." I said 17 a little bit ago. I keep forgetting this race 202 laps, not 200. Mark Martin just trying to hold on. He only led during green flag pit stops one other time today, but this is the first time he's been able to actually lead on speed. Notice the Roush cars had good speed early in the race. Surprised they haven't led more than they have. Kenseth only led during green flag stops. I don't even know if Edwards led at all. He might have. But it would have had to have been during green flag stops as well. We're slowly getting to the back of the field here. Yeah, I mean, we'll still be on pace to clinch in the championship early, but maybe not by 3 or 4 races anymore. Maybe by like 1 or 2. Maybe they all crash on the final lap. There's 3 wide off turn 4 coming to the checker. They all wreck and we pass like half the field in the grass. No cautions on the final lap in this game. Remember at IRP when we got a top 10 when we probably shouldn't have that night? I think I was in 13th with like 4 or 5 laps to go. Then there's a car that blew an engine that was holding up a bunch of cars on the inside. We were able to get on the apron and just miss everybody, and we got up to 6th. That was one of the few races that we probably shouldn't have finished in the top 10 and did. Didn't have great speed in that one, but we were able to get the job done when it mattered the most. One way or another. A lot of luck might have been involved, but better be lucky than good sometimes. And Kyle Busch has had no luck today, and he has also not been good. Definitely the worst race of the year by just how he's ran. And the running order right now for where he is running is indicative of that. Just saw the 112 car brush the wall off turn 2, but didn't slow him up too much. Maintaining with the pack. He does have a car underneath him now. 12 to go. Maybe we get a top 30. We have to make it on fuel first. I don't even care if I don't make it on fuel at this point. We kind of deserve a 39th place finish the way I've ran today. That last truck, maybe not my fault, but the mistakes I've made 3 of them today. Definitely deserve it. This is not that difficult of a track to drive on this game. Especially with the car handling in the beginning, even if it wasn't fast. Fast as far as trying to win the race goes. It's crazy to believe, too, we qualified on the pole. I didn't lead a green flag lap this entire race. The only laps I led was because after the first wreck, I couldn't take fuel or tires, so that actually gave me the lead. I led like 2 or 3 laps under caution. That's good enough for 5 bonus points still. You don't have to lead them under green, but it was the only reason I even led. Otherwise, this would be just the second race this year I wouldn't have led. Definitely lucky to lead. 3 wide off turn 4, just up ahead. One car might have gotten into the wall. It's tough to tell for sure. They're still 3 wide. Busch to 37th. He's passed a couple cars. Got 8 laps to go at the line this time by. Brandon, oh man, Busch got arrow loose that time off turn 2. I was afraid of potentially having that. We were involved in 2 wrecks on this set of tires, not just 1. I didn't spin the last time though, so I shouldn't have worn the tires out any more than they were already worn. Starting to catch these guys up here. I just got to hang on to it. Miller's lost a lot of spots in this one. He was running, I think he was just in front of us when we were in 21st before the second to last caution. Now he's going to lose another spot here. In fact, he might even be a lap down. Oh, we're definitely not making it on fuel. Went dark red already. Now we have 6 to go. There is no way. The race can end under yellow if we get a caution with 5 or less laps left. That would be the only way I think we can make it. It's not impossible. I need to make sure I'm not the one that brings the caution out though. I didn't even get arrow loose that time. I was loose on my own. Honestly, if I didn't spin, I think the handling would have been sustainable over the course of the long run. Muscling his way to the inside through turns 1 and 2. 4 laps to go at the line this time by. Martin continues to lead. If only this race is 200 laps. Like, maybe if I intimidate somebody, they'll wreck or something. Save ourselves a few positions, at least. They're just not getting loose when I'm intimidating them. 3 to go. Martin still leads. Busch up to 35th, making another pass for position. Yeah, these guys are not budging when I try to intimidate them. Some tracks, it just doesn't feel like it works. This is one of them. Busch might lose a couple spots here. Left a lot of bottom open. He got a little sideways in the middle of the corner that time. Washed up the racetrack. 2 more laps. Martin seems to be pulling away. And we're out of gas. Yep, I did not think we were going to make it. Well, that sucks. And we should go back to, what, 39th? White flag in the air. Final lap for Mark Martin. Busch in 39th. If there's anybody a lap down, they might get in front of us. Actually, if we cross the start-finish line, I think we'll be all right. Gonna have to take some gas here. We'll splash and go. We'll end it. I tried. Of any series in this game, we had a race like this. Thank God it was the Busch series and not the Cup or the Truck series, because we're not leading in points in those two right now. Checkered flag in the air. Mark Martin's going to win at Atlanta, his 3rd win of the Busch Series season. He has 3 wins in the Cup Series as well. And we're going to finish this race after everybody else already finished. Yep, Martin did get the win, though. Hendrick Motorsports going to finish 39th and 43rd today. That is unbelievable. Kyle Petty would say it's incredible. That's incredible. Watch everybody pitting on the inside of the track. Probably on the... Oh my God, we have somebody flipping. I think Brandon Miller just flipped. Busch gets the checkered flag there. I swear I saw Brandon Miller flip. They were just piling into each other at the front of pit road. I didn't know if he was going to come up the racetrack or not. Mark Martin. He earned this one. He didn't lead a lot of laps, but he got by Boyer on that last restart. Boyer didn't even get a top 10. He fell way back at the end of this race. 22 laps led for Martin. That's it. But good enough to win after starting deep in the field. Started 37th as well. Luke Traeger finishes second. Good run for the fantasy driver. Elliott Sadler, who was involved in a wreck early, still finished third. He was involved in that same wreck. Kyle Busch flipped. Matt Kenseth led 1 lap today under green flag pit stops, finished 4th. Edwards led 2, finishes 5th. So all 3 Roush Fenway Fords finished in the top 5. John Hamilton, another fantasy driver, ends up with the top 10, finishing 6th. Martin Truex Jr. led 19 laps, finished 7th. Casey Kane 8th. Kenny Wallace 9th. Clinton Boyer does round out the top 10 in 10th, leading 25 laps today after starting 3rd. So he still got a top 10, and he led laps. He's going to get quite a few points on us, but I think we're still going to have probably a little less than a 500-point lead now. It was over 600 coming in, though. 1.3-second margin of victory for Mark Martin. 2 hours, 3 minutes, 54 seconds total time of the race today. That was with 5 cautions for 15 caution laps. We were involved in 4 of them. 19 lead changes, 150.63 miles per hour is the average race speed. Kronker led a lot of laps today. She actually led over half the race, 106 laps led, but did not get a top 10. I think there was a caution where Truex was on pit road. There were a couple cars on pit road. They cycled to the front. I think that put her back around 4th or 5th on the restart. And because she wasn't in the lead, I don't think she had the same car. When she was leading and had the clean air, nobody could pass her, and that's why she led as many laps as she did. But once she fell back in traffic, she ended up falling outside the top 10, unfortunately. She had a great run, one of the fastest cars in the race for sure. And I'm pretty sure we ended up having 39 cars on the lead lap then, with Kyle Busch being the last of which. Brandon Miller was a lap down in 40th. Flipped after the checkered flag. Sweeney, also a lap down. Only 2 cars DNF. Shane Meal, Brian Vickers. We saw both blow engines, both led laps. Lap 8 was the DNF for Vickers. He was leading when that happened. Meal was in the top 5 pretty much the whole race up until lap 118, where he ended up coming to pit road and into the garage area, ending his race early. Yeah, I mean, it was, I don't know about bad luck. The only bad luck we had was those cars stacking up in front of us when we didn't have much of anywhere to go. If I would have went to the apron, it probably would have spun me out as soon as I did it. So we either had to check up in time, which I didn't, or run into the back of them, which I did. Only 8 races left. As soon as I clinch the championship, I'll just simulate the rest of the races, which we might end up having to run a couple more after tonight's bad finish. That stinks. Our average finish might be above 5 now. Is that a 3.9 coming in? By far our worst finish of the year. We still finished on the lead lap, though, barely. So I think I finished on the lead lap every race this season. I'd have to go back and look. Maybe I finished a lap down. Actually, you know what? I think I finished a lap down at Charlotte. Yeah, never mind. I think I was the first car lap down at Charlotte when we finished 17th. Because I remember spinning out, and I don't think we ever got back on the lead lap. We didn't get a caution like we did at Dover at the end. I led 90 laps in that race, too. One of the fastest cars. Kenseth won that one. But yeah, 3rd win of the year for Mark Martin. I didn't see how many laps I led. Oh, shoot. I was keeping track of that. I went down towards my name. I'll find it in the stream real quick. I led 2 laps. I figured it was only 2 or 3 because it was only during caution. So I led 2 laps today. I mean, I'll tally the average finish up real quick before we end the stream. I'm curious to see what it is. Might take me a minute here, but let's see. Now we have 2 finishes in the last 16 races outside the top 10, so that kind of broke that good streak going for us too. Hot streak definitely came to an end today. As long as we don't get on a cold streak after this, and a really bad cold streak, I mean, we could probably finish like 20th or better these last handful of races and still might end up barely hanging on to the championship. We do go to California again, which was not good for me the first time. Talladega's hit or miss, obviously, the super speedways on this game. Watkins Glen is hit or miss on this game. I see a lot of wrecks. 5.3 average finish now, by the way. So it was 3.9, but then finishing 39th, which was our worst finishing position by 22 spots. That drops our average finish to a 5.3. That might cost us a chance of getting the record, whatever the record is. I feel like the record for the Xfinity Series has to be like lower than the Cup record, just because of all those bushwhacking years in the middle of the 2000s to the end of the 2000s. I feel like a Cup regular had to have won the championship with an average finish below 5. We have races to try to make it up still. So, yeah, we'll see. Tune in tomorrow night, Throwback Thursday live stream. I don't know what race we're watching, so I guess I'll have to keep the stream running to check that. Starting to lag here. Luckily, we're at the end of the stream. Come on. It might be my internet, actually. I don't think it's my laptop. Internet's buffering. Needs reset. What am I doing? I can check my phone. I don't need internet for that. Tomorrow we will be watching the 1999 Daytona 500. Actually, one of the closest polls. 2002 was leading for a while. Last I checked, they were 1999, 43% to 34% for 2002, 11% for 1997, 1994 at 12%. So we will be rewatching the 1999 Daytona 500. Personally, that is one of my favorite Daytona 500s of all time. Crazy finish in that one. Wild racing. I'm not going to spoil it, but it was before the double yellow line rule, which kind of played into the craziness at the end of the race. So be sure to tune in tomorrow. Record's 4.6, Harvick in 06. Let's go for it. I think we can get there. 5.3, man, we were at 3.9 before that. So we just we have to finish below 5th to start dropping it down, and obviously the more wins we get, the further below 5th place, we're going to end up dropping it. So we basically have to finish, considering he had a 4.6, we're going to have to finish like 4th or better the rest of the races to get that. That's going to be tough. We'll see. All right. Yep, that's going to end it. But 1999 Daytona 500 tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will see you guys then. Thanks for watching. Appreciate the support as always. Brother becoming a real NASCAR. Well, I am a real commentator, but not professionally, I guess, technically. I act as professional as I can during the commentary, but we still have some fun on the side here, of course. As always, can't wait for the live race commentary streams. We're only a month away from the Busch Clash already, so that'll be the first live commentary stream of the year. We'll be doing the heat races as well as LCQs and the eventual main event, just like we did last year, all in the same day. I'll see you guys tomorrow, though. Appreciate it. NASCAR 22 Friday as well. Have a good rest of your Wednesday night.